I'd like to start off and acknowledge that you dog owners out there, your way does work. I'm not here, I'm not trying to be that person that says that this way or no way. I do frown upon negative reinforcement. However, you've owned dogs before, your way works. All I'm trying to do is share some information that I've taken in from seeing dog after dog after dog, from training dog after dog after dog, seeing differences from my technique the way it used to be, and just hearing some word of mouth from other trainers and applying that myself and seeing how that develops. So first thing I want to say is your way works, okay? If your dog's happy, you're happy, good job. Well done. Excellent. Barking puppies. So first thing you have, like with a puppy that barks all the time, one of the worst things that I could think of to do is to get bad advice. So one of the most popular forms of advice is be the alpha, be the alpha. And I'm just going to take an intermission here to explain that if you're going to be an alpha to a dog, you have to know that applies to that certain circumstance. You know, you could have two dogs of two different ages going to eat. Both of them are very hungry. There may be one food source. There may be an abundance of food. And that puppy, his hunger is going to make him go in front of that older dog, which will present a problem if there's only one food source. So if you're going to alpha, if you're going to, be an alpha role model to that dog, if you're going to, push on the dog, if you're going to intimidate the dog, if you're going to be the alpha, you may scare it to never eat. You may develop some type of other problems that are associative with eating. So I think what you should actually try and do is understand what the situation is. You have a puppy that's inexperienced, and you may have a previous dog that's older. Feed the older dog first. Let the puppy know that there is an alpha. Let the dogs do the alpha. Let the dogs do the dog behavior. Let's us act like humans. It's gotten us pretty far so far. Some more problems. Like I was saying, a barking puppy. What that indicates is if a puppy is always barking and the owner is chaining it up in the backyard, the front yard, or just away from the home, away from the cave because it's barking. First off, let's begin. Why is it barking? It's barking because of two things. It wants something, or it gets attention from the person that it wants something from, or the person that it loves, or its alpha, or its new owner. It gets attention when it's barking. So when does it not get attention? When it's not barking, when it's quiet, when it's sitting there while you're watching TV, being quiet. What you need to do is reverse these roles. Try and give the dog, the puppy, more attention while it's not barking before the barking starts. If you're a family that's buying a puppy, you're going to be a family of, let's say, 2, 3, 4 human beings. So when you bring this dog, this puppy, this pound puppy, this rescue, this foster dog, this neighbor's dog, this problem dog, when you bring this dog home, he's going to have 4 different relationships. Now, theoretically, let's say there's 1 adult and 3 children in this relationship. Now, the adult is probably going to be more consistent, more persistent. It's probably going to identify with the dog, one, because it exhibits the alpha behavior over the children. It's bigger. Sometimes I wonder if dogs think other children are just other little animals. I don't know. That's just a random thought. But my point here being is a family dog, there's so much more variables, so much more circumstance, so much more anxiety that can develop on this dog because there are 4 relationships. And amongst the children, those are 3 different ages, possibly, theoretically speaking. And, with children, there are going to be 3 different relationship levels. So children may not understand the importance of persistent consistency with the dog. What I mean by that is that was a theoretical family circumstance, acquiring a dog. Now, there's a single owner, or maybe a couple owner. For this example, I'm going to use a single owner. One person gets a dog. That's 1 human, 1 dog. That's 1 relationship. So that's going to have a lot of opportunity to develop. You can reverse train your dog in these situations. When the dog and the owner, when they bond, they become real close. Let's say, dogs like to groom before they go to bed. Or like when they go around in circles before they lay down. One thing you could do, one thing I do, is when the dog's grooming or before you go to sleep, you could touch the dog like on his left ear. Only his left ear. And only before you go to bed. So what you've done is you've conditioned the dog. So now down the road, if you want to put that emotion, that feeling to remind him of what's like right before you go to bed, touch that left ear during a time that of high anxiety, time when you need to bring the dog, when you need to center the dog, bring the dog closer to reality, closer to comfort for you, for him, or for the room, for public, for whomever, for training purposes. There's ways to control the dog's emotions. Another one is, this is one of my favorites actually, is when I get a puppy, while only using positive reinforcement, I'll also use a hand sign throughout the positive reinforcement training. Now, when I use this particular hand sign, let's just say it's a thumbs up for this example. That's sort of like a contract. This particular dog knows that when I use this particular sign, no harm, no negativity, no loud voices, no brash physical action, no temper. It's nothing. It's a contract with the dog. It lets the dog know that, hey, I don't speak English. I don't know what this big, ugly, weird ape-looking thing is doing. I'm nervous. I have a lot of anxiety for whatever reasons. But he just gave me that hand sign that he gives me every time. And I know that there's no danger. That's another way to sort of take control of the dog's emotions, to center them, get them focused emotionally for whatever you need to go forward with. That's one of my favorites, and there's just so many others. I'll have to quote Cesar Roman. One of his old episodes, he introduced me to the mimic bite. I guess there's a little nerve ending, whatever, just on the cheek of the puppies. If you watch them play, they'll bite each other there, and that stimulates a relaxing feeling throughout them, and that'll last through adulthood. They'll identify that feeling with a puppy biting them. So you're just taking that thing that they've been doing for their whole lives, and you're just applying it in a different way to benefit yourself as a handler and owner, to improve your canine relationship, what have you. But it really is a great skill to have. It's not necessarily training, it's more conditioning. It's more conditioning of behavior, and that's for a one owner. Now, you can still do this with children. It's just, there's some types of service dogs to where they don't put their business training face on until they put their suit on, their service jacket. So you could do that with the children too. You could let them know that, you can act this way under these circumstances, but when it's just me, we act this way. And one way to do that, you don't have to put a suit on them. You could have a facial gesture. Just smile when it's you and him. Just be persistently consistent. That's what's most important. So earlier I was using an example of two dogs, one younger, one older, and just some bad behavior coming out of that. Now, when bad behavior presents itself, that's a perfect opportunity for you to nip that in the bud so it doesn't happen during Thanksgiving, during Christmas, at the park, wherever. It's an opportunity to end it now and here. So one good way to do it is recreate the conditions, recreate the scenario. Pick the food bowl up. Make them go back in the other room. Redo the entire gestures of feeding them again. Now, walk them through slowly so that the puppy can identify its role in this process of eating food, which is so important to them more than we can really understand. It's one of their staples of their personality is food. So we want that to be a calm process. Don't make any fast movements around them. Try and give them their own bowl. That's when there's an abundance of food. That's when alpha traits do manifest. And, the cutest little puppy can have that alpha trait come out during times like this. And you just won't believe that you had that in your dog. But one way to look at that is that's also drive. Yes, it's a bad behavior, but it's also an opportunity to train, to condition. It's also drive. That's energy, that's drive. You can use that to gain something that you want in training. So everything's an opportunity. It's not a reason. It's not a reason to punish. It's not a reason to go alpha crazy on them and throw them out in the yard because they're barking, because that's the only way that they get attention from you. Now we're really messing with their head. I apologize for the lack of content lately. It's been a pandemic for everyone. I'm sure for you, for everyone involved. Not just me, I'm sure. But we have been working on content. We have a lot of content coming up. I'd like for you to also listen to Sooner State True Crime Podcast. That's a sister podcast that is a podcast that covers true crime events in the state of Oklahoma. We also have another podcast coming called Crime State, and there's a context on that title, but that's coming soon. Now, I want to go ahead and get started, and I've been touching on puppies lately. How can you not? Who doesn't love puppies? So I want to relay a tip. When you get a puppy, take advantage of it being a puppy. If you're going to train the dog, either to be a service dog, to be your companion, to be a family pet, to be a guard dog, take advantage of the puppy freedom. The freedom to take your dog to Walmart. The freedom to, on a leash of course, the freedom to have your puppy in public and for no one to fear it mauling society, to fear it mauling the baby. Everyone loves a puppy. Of course, that's an exaggeration. Most people enjoy a puppy. However, they enjoy it more than a full-grown puppy that could just be 7-8 months old. So, in your first 4 to 5 months of your puppy relationship, try and get out there in public, get it in the car, get it used to getting in the car. The more circumstance and situation you put your puppy through, the easier it is to train, the more calm they are, the more cool, calm, and collected the dog is down the road. When it's a big, fierce-looking dog and it's in public at the park. So you'll have more control over it. It's better to have control over it then, rather than to try and get control of it then. So earlier, I touched on not waiting till the dog starts barking uncontrollably to give it attention. Proactively give it attention while it's not barking. My point exactly. Speaking proactively, here's a proactive step that you can take. Is now you know that when someone rings the doorbell, the dogs are going to go crazy. They're going to bark. So before someone comes to the house, you can create this scenario of someone knocking on the door in advance so that the dog is conditioned for it. So go ahead and have the dog come to the door, sit down before you open it, or something along the lines of that. Something to display obedience. It's whenever one of the hardest things to do is to have obedience, and then to have the dog lose control, forget the obedience, just give up on it, and then to bring him back, to reel him back in. And that's what one of these scenarios can help you do. But I'm going to go ahead and paint a picture for you here. This point where the dog sits at the front door before you open it, this is a pivot point. You can branch out to different types of training from this point. So if you can get your dog to this point, there's a lot of different places we can go. In a previous show, I explained how to get your dog to detect glucose in the house. So now I want to also touch on people who are diabetic that want to train their dog by themselves. One of the obstacles you have to overcome is that you want the dog to indicate to a certain measurement of your glucose while he already smells it. He lives with you. He can smell it the entire time. So how are you going to get past this obstacle? One tip that I suggest is whenever you test, let's say you're going to test your glucose with the blood test kit. So whenever your measurement says, let's say 80, and your dog, which you should have sitting right next to you, you would then reward him. Make this the happiest part of his day, because he smells this smell all day, but now that it smells a certain way, a certain number, which is 80, he's getting a big reward. Now I want you to save an even bigger reward for another task. Have him bring the test kit to you. You can hide this test kit if you want later on down the road to make it challenging, to keep the dog driven and motivated to do this. Now, the biggest reward, and this is one of those facts I'm just relaying to you, is you save the biggest reward to call off the end of this this alert, so that you can get back to Game of Thrones. Because if you don't have a call off, the dog won't stop. So keep that in mind. I want you to, in the spirit of times, I want you to think about interchanging your training sample, whether it be diabetes, epilepsy, flu, whatever you're training your dog to alert to. I want you to theoretically exchange it with a saliva sample that is pre-measured, laser measured to 100.4 degrees. Now you're going to get an alert to this as well because you're going to do the same training. Now I want you to assign a different alert instead of say shake hands as an alert for a previous element. Do maybe lay down as an alert. So now what I want you to imagine here is I want you to bring your dog to sit at the front door like we were talking about. And now if you can have a friend come over with let's begin with your own saliva sample of glucose, your own diabetic or epileptic sample. Have that sample outside the door as the dog is healing to you inside. Ring the doorbell. Now, the dog wants to know what's out there. He's going to identify that there's a person out there, and he can smell that their glucose is low or high, or interchange these samples. You can have this sample be 100.4 degrees or higher saliva sample, and you can have your dog sitting next to you alerting to a person who rings a doorbell, not alerting but indicating to you whether this person is medically safe to answer the door. Let that marinate. That's how easy this is to get to. Now remember, this is a proactive training where you brought the dog to heel just to condition him for when people ring your doorbell. You don't want him to go crazy. You want to maintain composure over your best friend, your dog, your canine, your pup. Now, we just didn't stop there. We branched out with our training. We pushed the envelope. So now you have a dog that will indicate to you before you open the door whether this person is diabetic or has a body signature over 100.4 degrees, which could or could not be a vehicle containing the COVID virus. I just want to leave you with one last thought. Whether you agree or disagree, or your way's better, or his way is better, or my way is better, what's important here is you're interacting with your dog. You're giving him indicators of how you're going to act at certain crossroads. Indicators that consist of your body signature, your scent, your visual cues, your heart rate. All those are education for your dog. So you get a year in, you get 2 years in. As long as you stay persistently consistent, you'll have a dog that will show initiative and go out of his way for your well-being. And I hope it blows your mind as much as it did mine. Thank you. Stay safe, and everyone keep on keeping on.